My granddaughter denied my help, but I funded her secret dreams. I never thought the child I raised with my own two hands would one day look me in the eye and tell me I wasn't needed. That my love, my sacrifice, my years of sleepless nights meant nothing compared to her pride. I remember the exact moment she said it. Standing in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd taught her to bake cookies, where we'd laughed over burnt pancakes and cried over scraped knees. She stood there, tall and confident, and told me she didn't need me anymore. But here's what she didn't know. Sometimes the deepest love is the kind that never asks to be seen. Welcome, my dear. This is Revenge with Alice, where every story carries a lesson wrapped in truth, and every heartbreak eventually finds its way to healing or to justice. Pour yourself some tea, settle in close, and let me tell you about the time I learned that pride can blind even those we love most. Because sometimes the greatest act of love is giving without ever taking credit. My granddaughter Emma came into my life when she was just 7 years old. Her mother, my beloved daughter Sarah, had passed away from cancer, and her father, well, he wasn't fit to raise a goldfish, let alone a grieving child. So I opened my home and my heart, and Emma became mine in every way that mattered. Even if the law said I was just grandma. I raised her in my small 2-bedroom house on Maple Street, the same house where I'd raised Sarah. The wallpaper was outdated, the floors creaked with every step, and the kitchen faucet had a leak I'd been meaning to fix for 10 years. But it was filled with love. Every corner held a memory. Every photograph on the mantel told a story of survival, of resilience, of making something beautiful out of nothing. Emma was a bright child, sharp as a tack and twice as stubborn. She inherited that from me, I suppose. While other kids were playing with dolls, she was building things, creating little businesses out of thin air. At 9, she sold homemade friendship bracelets to her classmates. At 12, she was tutoring other students for pocket money. By 16, she was designing websites for local shops. I watched her grow into this fierce, ambitious young woman, and my heart swelled with pride every single day. I worked 2 jobs to give her what she needed. During the day, I was a seamstress at the local tailor shop, my fingers dancing over fabric until they ached. At night, I cleaned offices downtown, pushing a mop across cold floors while the city slept. I never complained. Not once. Because every dollar I earned went toward Emma's future. Her school supplies, her college fund, her dreams. When she graduated high school with honors, I cried like a baby. When she got accepted to business school, I threw her a party in our tiny backyard with homemade cake and paper decorations. And when she graduated college at 23 with a degree in entrepreneurship, I knew she was destined for something great. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Maybe it was the fancy education. Maybe it was the new friends she made. Those polished, entitled kids who'd never known what it meant to struggle. Or maybe it was just the natural consequence of giving someone everything and asking for nothing in return. Whatever it was, Emma started looking at me differently. Not with love and gratitude, but with something that looked uncomfortably like pity. She'd visit less and less, always with an excuse. I'm busy, Grandma. I'm networking. I'm building my career. When she did come by, she'd glance around my house with barely concealed discomfort, as if the peeling paint and worn furniture were somehow embarrassing, as if the home that raised her wasn't good enough anymore. Then came that day, that terrible, heart-shattering day 2 years after her graduation. Emma called me on a Tuesday morning, her voice bubbling with excitement. Grandma, I need to talk to you about something important. Can I come over? My heart leaped. Maybe she was finally ready to slow down, to spend real time with me again. I baked her favorite lemon cookies, the ones I used to make every Sunday when she was little. I cleaned the house from top to bottom, even though it was already spotless. I put on my good dress, the navy one with the white collar that Sarah had given me years ago. When Emma arrived, she was glowing. She wore an expensive-looking blazer, her hair perfectly styled, her nails manicured. She looked like success itself, and I felt a wave of maternal pride wash over me. "Grandma," she said, sitting at my kitchen table, "I'm starting my own business, a digital marketing agency. I've been planning it for months, and I'm finally ready to launch." "Oh, sweetheart." I clasped my hands together. "That's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." She smiled, but there was something guarded in her eyes. "I'm going to need capital. Startup costs, office space, equipment, hiring a small team. It's expensive." I didn't hesitate. I'd been saving for years, tucking away every spare dollar I could. I had nearly $50,000 in a savings account. My entire life's work, meant for retirement or emergencies. But what was more important than Emma's future? "I'll help you," I said immediately. "I have savings. It's yours. Whatever you need." The words hung in the air between us, and I watched as something cold flickered across her face. "Actually, Grandma," she said slowly, "I didn't come here to ask for money." I blinked, confused. "Then why?" "I came to tell you about my plans because you're family, but I don't want your help." She straightened her shoulders, her chin lifting with pride. "I want to be self-made. Do you understand? If I take money from you, I'll always wonder if I really earned my success or if it was just handed to me. I need to do this on my own." The words hit me like a slap. "Emma, accepting help doesn't make you any less." "It does, though," she interrupted. "Look, I love you. I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I need to prove to myself, and to the world, that I can build something without anyone's charity." Charity. She called my love charity. I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, the lemon cookies cooling on the counter, and felt something crack inside my chest. This child, this girl I'd raised, fed, clothed, and loved with every fiber of my being, was looking at me like I was just another obstacle between her and her ambitions. "I see," I said quietly. "I knew you'd understand." She stood up, checking her phone. "I have a meeting in an hour, but I wanted you to be the first to know. I'm calling the agency Emmerize, because I'm rising on my own terms." She kissed my cheek, quick, perfunctory, and was gone before I could find my voice. I sat in that kitchen for a long time after she left, staring at the cookies I'd made with so much love. The sun moved across the floor, shadows lengthening, and I felt something harden in my heart. Not anger exactly, not even hurt, though there was plenty of that. It was something deeper, more complicated. It was the quiet determination of a woman who'd been underestimated her entire life. If Emma wanted to be self-made, fine. But I wasn't going to watch her fail. I wasn't going to let pride destroy the dreams I'd helped plant in her heart all those years ago. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea growing cold in my hands, and I made a decision that would change everything. If Emma didn't want my help openly, she'd get it another way. She'd get every bit of support she needed. Every dollar, every connection, every opportunity. But she'd never know it came from me. I picked up the phone and made the first call. And with that single conversation, I became the invisible hand that would build her empire, while she convinced herself she'd done it all alone. What I didn't know then was just how far her pride would take her, and how much it would cost us both when the truth finally came to light. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I never believed that until I watched my granddaughter build her empire on my invisible foundation, brick by brick, lie by lie. Every social media post celebrating her self-made success felt like a needle through my heart. But I kept funding her dreams, kept opening doors she thought she'd kick down herself. Because that's what love does. It gives without counting the cost. Until one day, the cost becomes too heavy to bear in silence. Welcome back, my dear. This is Revenge with Alice, and if you're just joining us, well, you've walked into the middle of a story about pride, love, and the dangerous space between them. Last time, I told you how my granddaughter Emma rejected my help, choosing pride over family. Today, I'll tell you what happened when I decided to help her anyway, and how that choice nearly destroyed us both. Stay close now. This is where the story gets complicated. The morning after Emma left my kitchen, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. My decision was made, and there was no turning back. If my granddaughter wanted to believe she was self-made, I'd let her believe it. But I wouldn't let her fail. I started by calling my old friend Margaret Chin, a lawyer I'd known for 30 years. We'd met when I was hemming her wedding dress, and over the decades, she'd become more than a client. She was family. Margaret had always told me that if I ever needed anything at all, I should call. "Alice," she said when she answered, her voice warm with surprise. "It's been too long. What can I do for you?" I explained the situation. Not all of it, just enough. "I want to help Emma with her business, but she can't know it's me. Can you help me set up an anonymous investment fund?" There was a pause. "Alice, are you sure about this? This kind of arrangement can get complicated." "I'm sure," I said firmly. "She needs to believe she did this herself. But I won't watch her struggle when I have the means to help." Margaret sighed, but I could hear the understanding in her voice. "All right, give me a week and I'll have everything set up. We'll create an LLC, a private investment firm that specializes in supporting women-owned businesses. Everything will be completely anonymous. Even Emma's lawyers won't be able to trace it back to you." "Thank you," I whispered. "Just promise me something," Margaret said quietly. "Promise me you'll tell her the truth eventually. Secrets like this, they have a way of exploding at the worst possible moment." I promised, though even then, I wasn't sure I'd keep that promise. True to her word, Margaret had everything ready within a week. The fund was called Maple Street Capital, a small nod to my street, though I doubted Emma would ever make the connection. I liquidated my savings account, cashed in bonds I'd been holding since Sarah was born, even took out a second mortgage on my house. By the time I was done, I had $75,000 sitting in that fund, ready to pour into Emma's dream. The first investment came 2 months after Emma launched Emmerize. I'd been following her journey obsessively, checking her website daily, reading every post on her social media, watching from the shadows as she struggled to get her first clients. She was hemorrhaging money. The office space she'd rented was too expensive. The equipment she'd bought was top of the line but unnecessary for a startup. She'd hired 2 employees immediately, and their salaries were eating through her personal savings like termites through old wood. I watched her post about the challenges of entrepreneurship with forced optimism, and my heart ached. That's when Margaret's assistant reached out to Emma on behalf of Maple Street Capital. The message was professional, impersonal. "We specialize in investing in promising women-owned businesses. We've reviewed your business plan and believe Emmerize has potential. Would you be interested in discussing an investment opportunity?" Emma called me that night, her voice electric with excitement. "Grandma, you'll never believe it. A real investment firm wants to meet with me. This is exactly what I needed, validation that my business model works." I forced enthusiasm into my voice. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. I told you I could do this on my own," she said, and there was something triumphant in her tone that made my stomach turn. "I'm going to prove to everyone that I didn't need handouts or family connections. This is all me. All you," I echoed softly. The investment meeting happened at Margaret's office. I wasn't there, of course. I was at home, pacing my kitchen, waiting for Margaret's call to tell me how it went. When my phone finally rang, Margaret's voice was carefully neutral. "She's smart, Alice. Very smart. She negotiated terms like a seasoned businesswoman. She asked all the right questions. But did she accept? She did. $25,000 for a 10% stake in the company. She was thrilled. I closed my eyes, relief washing over me. "Thank you, Margaret." "Alice," she said gently. She talked a lot about being self-made, about proving herself without help. "This is going to hurt her when she finds out." "If she finds out," I corrected. When, Margaret repeated firmly. Not if. When. But I didn't want to think about that. Not yet. Not when I could finally breathe knowing Emma's business wouldn't collapse. The $25,000 was just the beginning. Over the next year, I poured money into Emma's business in waves, sometimes as additional investment rounds, sometimes as strategic partnerships with other companies that were really just shell corporations Margaret had helped me create. I paid her suppliers directly through fake vendor accounts. I covered her marketing costs by recommending her services to business owners I knew, then secretly reimbursing them. I even hired a consultant to advise her, a retired marketing executive I paid handsomely to guide Emma without ever revealing who was funding his time. And Emma? She flourished. Within 6 months, Emmerize had grown from a 2-person operation to a team of 8. She landed major clients, brands I'd quietly connected her with through intermediaries. She moved into a bigger office. She bought a new car. She started appearing on podcasts and in business magazines, always with the same story. I built this from nothing. No family money, no connections, just hard work and determination. Every interview felt like a knife in my chest. She'd visit me sometimes, maybe once every few months, always rushed, always distracted. She'd sit in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd given her everything, and tell me about her success with glowing pride. The investment fund that believed in me, they just doubled their stake, she'd say, scrolling through her phone. I'm thinking about expanding to the West Coast. Can you believe it, Grandma? A year ago, I was just starting out, and now I'm running a legitimate company. I always believed in you, I'd say quietly. She'd glance up, smile briefly, then look back at her phone. I know, but there's a difference between family believing in you and the business world validating your work. This is real, you know? This isn't just sentiment. Just sentiment. As if my love was worth less than a stranger's investment check. A check I'd written myself. The breaking point came on a Sunday afternoon in December, almost 18 months after Emma had started her business. She called me, her voice bright with excitement, and asked if she could come over. She had big news. I baked lemon cookies again. A habit I couldn't break, even though she rarely ate them anymore. She arrived in a designer coat, her success radiating from every perfectly styled hair on her head. Grandma, I'm being featured in Entrepreneur magazine, she announced, showing me her phone. A full spread about young women building businesses without traditional funding. They're calling me an inspiration. I looked at the screen, at my granddaughter's beautiful face above the headline, Self-Made at 25. How Emma Sullivan built a 6-figure business without family money or investors. My hands started to shake. That's wonderful, Emma, I managed. They want to do a photo shoot at my office next week, she continued, not noticing my reaction. And get this, they asked if there was anyone who inspired me, and I told them about Mom, about how watching her fight cancer taught me resilience, about how I learned to be independent because I had to be. She didn't mention me, not once. I set down the phone carefully, my vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. That night, after Emma left, I sat alone in my kitchen with the magazine article open on my tablet. I read every word, every lie, every omission. And for the first time since I'd started this journey, I felt something darker than hurt stirring in my chest. It was anger, pure, righteous anger. I'd given her everything twice. Once when I raised her, and again when I secretly funded her dreams. And she'd taken it all, rewritten the story, and erased me from the narrative of her own success. I picked up my phone and called Margaret. I want to schedule a meeting, I said, my voice steady. With Emma. It's time she learned the truth about who really built her empire. Alice, Margaret warned, are you absolutely certain? Once you do this, there's no going back. I looked around my small, humble kitchen. The kitchen where I'd sacrificed everything for a child who now called that sacrifice nothing. I'm certain, I said. It's time for my self-made granddaughter to meet her biggest investor. There's a particular kind of silence that falls when a lie shatters. It's not peaceful. It's not empty. It's the kind of silence that screams, that echoes with every word left unsaid, every truth that was buried beneath pride and arrogance. I'd been living in that silence for 18 months, watching my granddaughter build her throne on my invisible foundation. But the time for silence was over. Today, Emma would learn that her self-made empire had a very specific architect, and she was sitting across from her. Margaret scheduled the meeting for a Tuesday morning at Emma's office. Her beautiful, modern office with glass walls and expensive furniture, all paid for with money Emma thought came from strangers who believed in her vision. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Are you ready for this?" Margaret asked as we rode the elevator up to the 7th floor. She was carrying a leather portfolio stuffed with documents. Every investment record, every transaction, every piece of evidence that proved I was the mysterious Maple Street capital that had believed in Emma from the beginning. "I've been ready for 18 months, I replied, smoothing down my best dress. The same navy one with the white collar I'd worn the day Emma rejected my help. She needs to understand what she's really built, what we built together, whether she wanted to admit it or not. The receptionist, a young man I'd technically been paying through my investment, greeted us with a professional smile. "Ms. Sullivan is expecting you. Conference room B, just down the hall." My heart pounded with every step. Through the glass walls, I could see Emma at the head of a conference table, reviewing documents, looking every inch the successful CEO. She glanced up as we approached, and I watched confusion flicker across her face when she saw me. "Grandma!" She stood up, smoothing her blazer. "What are you doing here?" I thought this was a meeting with Maple Street Capital about the next investment round. "It is," I said quietly, walking into the room. "Sit down, Emma." She looked between Margaret and me, her confusion deepening. "I don't understand. Margaret, what's going on?" Margaret closed the door behind us and set the portfolio on the table. "Your grandmother requested this meeting. I'm here in my capacity as her attorney and as the representative for Maple Street Capital." Emma's face went pale. "Her attorney? Why would you need?" She stopped, her sharp mind already piecing together the impossible puzzle. No, that's not. Grandma, what is she talking about?" I sat down across from her, my hands folded calmly on the table. For 18 months, I'd practiced this moment in my mind. I'd imagined being angry, being vindictive, being cruel. But now, facing my granddaughter's dawning horror, I felt only a deep, weary sadness. "Maple Street Capital doesn't exist," I said softly. "Not in the way you think it does. It's not a firm with multiple investors and a board of directors. It's me, Emma. It's always been me." "That's not possible," she whispered. "You don't have that kind of money. You work as a seamstress and clean offices. You live in a tiny house on—" She stopped, her eyes widening. "Maple Street." "Yes," I confirmed. "I named it after our street. I thought maybe someday you'd figure it out on your own. See the clue I left for you. But you never looked closely enough." Margaret opened the portfolio and began laying out documents. Bank statements, investment agreements, transfer records, all of it bearing my signature, all of it dated from the very beginning of Emma's business. "The initial $25,000 investment," Margaret said, her voice professional and detached. "That came from your grandmother's savings account. Money she'd been setting aside for 30 years. The second round of $50,000? She took out a mortgage on her house. The ongoing operational funding, the vendor payments, the consultant fees, all of it came from Alice." Emma's hands trembled as she picked up the documents, her eyes scanning the pages with increasing desperation. "But the meetings, the investment committee, the quarterly reports, were all facilitated through my office," Margaret explained. "Alice hired me to create a legitimate corporate structure to protect both of you. Everything was legal, everything was documented. But at the end of the day, your grandmother was the sole investor in MRIs. She owns 73% of your company, Emma. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. 73%, Emma repeated, her voice hollow. You own my company? I own the majority stake, yes, I said. But I never wanted to own it, sweetheart. I wanted to help you build it. You just wouldn't let me do it openly. So you did it behind my back? Her voice rose, anger finally breaking through the shock. You lied to me? You let me think I was doing this alone, that I was proving myself, when all along it was just… What? Your charity. The word stung, just as it had the first time she'd used it. It was love, I said firmly. It was a grandmother watching her granddaughter struggle and doing everything in her power to help, even when that help wasn't wanted or appreciated. Emma stood up abruptly, knocking her chair backward. Do you have any idea what you've done? I've built my entire brand on being self-made. I've given interviews, written articles, spoken at conferences about building a business without handouts or family money. And now you're telling me it was all a lie. It wasn't a lie, I countered, my own voice rising. You did build this business. You worked hard, made smart decisions, earned every client. The money I gave you didn't make you talented or driven. It just kept the lights on while you figured things out. That's not how anyone else will see it. She was pacing now, her hands in her hair. When this gets out, and it will get out, everyone will think I'm a fraud. A rich kid playing at entrepreneurship with grandma's money. Then tell them the truth, I said. Tell them your grandmother believed in you so much that she mortgaged her house. Tell them that family support doesn't make you less successful. It makes you blessed. You don't get it, she said, and there were tears streaming down her face now. You don't understand what it's like to be a young woman in business, constantly fighting to be taken seriously, to prove you're not just some privileged kid who had everything handed to her. I worked so hard to build credibility, to earn respect, and you took that from me. Her words hit me like a physical blow. I took that from you? Emma, I gave you everything. I raised you when your mother died. I worked 2 jobs to put you through school. I sacrificed my retirement, my home, my entire savings to fund your dream. And you stand there and tell me I took something from you? The silence that followed was deafening. Emma sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. For a long moment, the only sound was her quiet crying. Margaret looked at me with sympathy, but she said nothing. This was between Emma and me. Finally, Emma looked up, her eyes red and swollen. Why? She asked, her voice breaking. Why did you do this? If you wanted to help me, why not tell me the truth from the beginning? I reached across the table, but she pulled back from my hand. The rejection hurt more than any words could. Because you told me no, I said simply. You stood in my kitchen and told me you didn't want my help. You called it charity. You said accepting money from me would make you less than, would make your success meaningless. What was I supposed to do? Emma? Watch you fail? Watch your business collapse when I had the means to save it? What kind of grandmother would that make me? An honest one, she whispered. The words pierced my heart. Maybe, I admitted. But I'd rather be a liar who helped you succeed than an honest woman who watched you fail out of respect for your pride. Emma gathered the documents, her hands still shaking, and stood up. I need time to think, to process this, to figure out what this means for my business, my reputation, my life. Emma, please, Grandma, she interrupted, and her voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. Just, please go. I can't look at you right now. Margaret and I left the office in silence. As the elevator doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of Emma through the glass walls, sitting alone in her conference room, surrounded by the empire we'd built together. The empire she'd thought was entirely her own. 3 weeks passed with no word from Emma. No calls, no texts, no visits. I waited, my phone always within reach, hoping each notification might be her. But there was only silence, that terrible, screaming silence that comes after truth shatters everything you thought you knew. I'd done what I thought was right. I'd loved her the only way she'd let me. From the shadows, asking for nothing in return. But Margaret had been right all along. Secrets like mine don't stay buried. They explode at the worst possible moment, and the shrapnel cuts everyone. Late one night, my phone finally buzzed with a message from Emma. My hands trembled as I opened it. "We need to talk. Not about the business. About us. Can you come over tomorrow?" I stared at those words for a long time, reading between the lines, searching for forgiveness or condemnation. But all I could see was an invitation, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to rebuild what my love had accidentally broken. Tomorrow I would face my granddaughter again. And this time, there would be no secrets between us. Just two women trying to figure out if blood is thicker than pride, if love is stronger than betrayal, and whether a family fractured by good intentions can ever truly heal. Because that's the thing about love and revenge, my dear. Sometimes they're two sides of the same coin, and you don't know which side you've chosen until the coin has already been flipped. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever struggled with the complicated dance between pride and love, between helping and enabling, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to Revenge with Alice. Every week, I share stories of life's hardest lessons, tales of betrayal and redemption, of justice and forgiveness, of the painful truths that shape who we become. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and join our family of listeners who believe that every story carries a lesson and every wound eventually carries wisdom. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment telling me, was I right to help Emma in secret, or should I have let her fail on her own terms? Until next time, my dear, remember, the deepest love sometimes requires the hardest truths, and the greatest gift we can give someone isn't always the help they want. It's the help they need, even when they never know we gave it. This is Alice, reminding you that what goes around always comes around. The only question is whether it comes back as blessing or curse, and sometimes that depends entirely on who's telling the story. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next chapter of life's complicated lessons.